So previously last week, the SEC had submitted their final opposition to why they think that all of the Hinman emails, or the emails that are surrounding the Will Hinman speech, should not be given over to the courts and to Ripple. So Ripple fired back in its opposition, and what several analysts that I was reading about were actually really amazed at how Ripple came back and tore apart the SEC's arguments. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what Ripple said, what they're actually accusing the SEC of doing, what we're going to be waiting on, which rulings we're going to be waiting on, as the end of discovery has officially ended. It ended back on the 28th, and so we have two decisions that we're going to be waiting on, and these are some big ones. I'm also going to be talking about Bitcoin's big week, because Bitcoin just had its single biggest green candle in a single day than it has since January of 2021. So if you're not following the charts on a daily basis, I'm going to tell you what it actually hit, what it could pull back to, and what some of the predictions are for the next couple of weeks, because right now is a huge volatility time for the crypto markets. So I'm going to talk about XRP and a little bit of Sologenic and Corium, because the airdrops are taking place, many of which XRP holders were taking part of. Hey everyone, my name is Reddy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the Late Night Grind community. And don't forget to hit that bell notification icon so that YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. If you're feeling generous, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up button and watch this video all the way to the end. Those really are the two best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So if you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, guys. Let's jump into it. So let's talk about what Bitcoin just did this past week. Back on Tuesday, it had one of the biggest 24-hour green candles that it's had in quite some time. It actually rose 15%, I believe 18% at its peak at one point before pulling back a little bit and closing at a 15% climb. That is a huge green candle for one day for the crypto market, especially considering what's going on. If you're looking at geopolitical factors, there's a war going on. In fact, there's several wars going on. Some wars you just hear about more than others. But nonetheless, Bitcoin arose to touch over $45,000. Many shorts were liquidated, or if you look up other websites that actually track all of these shorts and long positions that get liquidated during some of these events, you'll see that some of these massive run-ups by Bitcoin were the result of huge liquidations on the short side, meaning those that were predicting that the price of Bitcoin was going to continue to drop, well, they were wrong. And there was also some times when XRP floated right along with Bitcoin, and other times when XRP seemed to decouple a little bit and inexplicably rise or fall, even though the rest of the crypto market wasn't doing such things. Some of that may revolve around the news going on in the case, or maybe even possibly what's being talked about in the mainstream media. And so a little bit later on, which probably by the time you're watching this video, it will have already happened, Brad Garlinghouse, who's the CEO of Ripple, is actually going to be on Fox Business talking to Charles Gasparino as some of the geopolitical discussions that are taking place right now, specifically regarding the sanctions against Russia and how SWIFT is involved, and I'm sure how Ripple is involved, because if you've been following Ripple for a long time, Ripple has been said to essentially be a big competitor to SWIFT. Those holding XRP for quite some time now are saying that Ripple is essentially going to be replacing SWIFT and thus use XRP for all the settlements. So we're actually going to get to see what Brad Garlinghouse has to say about that, because that's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely going to be covering that on one of my next videos, because there's a lot of truth and there's also a lot of misinformation when it comes to Ripple, SWIFT, and how they actually work together and or compete with each other. And especially when you're talking about sanctions, with what many countries are doing against Russia right now, there's a lot of confusion, so I can't wait to see some of that. Hopefully, some of that misinformation will actually get cleared up. Now, for his part, Brad Garlinghouse has been doing his best on Twitter to at least clear up some of the misinformation regarding SWIFT, but nonetheless, it's great to see that this is hitting more of the mainstream media and putting this Ripple versus SEC case front and center. Okay, so where's Bitcoin going locally? Well, it's actually pulling back, and from some of the technical analysis that I've seen and some of the on-chain analysis of recent, it looks like after breaking out, Bitcoin has been pulling back, especially today, and it's most likely pulling back until it hits another retest level right around 40 to 41,000 seems to be the consensus. So we're going to see if it's actually going to reach that. But the consensus is that after that, it's most likely going to rebound, and it could be a straight shot to 50,000, although I've seen others that say there's big resistance right around the 45,500 mark, $46,000 mark. That could be big resistance levels, but again, if it actually breaks that, probably going to go straight to 50. And I did want to mention specifically Sologenic, because the NFT marketplace that Sologenic just launched last month is actually gaining more and more exposure. There is well over 35,000 NFTs minted, which means there is 100,000 Solo tokens actually burned. It's officially a deflationary asset. So if you haven't checked out the NFT marketplace yet, please go ahead and do so. Check it out. There's been a lot of movement from some of the other NFT marketplaces to Sologenic, and there's been a lot more, especially on Twitter, a lot more attention being paid to it. And I'm going to have some videos coming up specifically about some of the NFTs and NFT projects on the Sologenic platform, because some of these things that are now being put on the Sologenic marketplace are actually culturally iconic, and I can't wait to show you guys some of the things that I found. And I'm also going to be doing a little bit of an update on the Corium airdrops to Solo holders. Actually, the first two airdrops from the December and January snapshot actually took place back at the end of February, so hopefully you had your trust line set up if you are a Solo holder to get those core tokens. And those core tokens are actually already trading on the Solo DEX. You can trade it with XRP, you can trade that for Sologenic and a few others that are based on the XRP ledger. All right, so now let's get into the Ripple versus the SEC case, because some of these documents, it has a lot of people amazed at how well thought out the Ripple defense has been taking down the SEC at literally every turn or every motion submitted. So last week the SEC put in their opposition to, and basically stating their case as to why they say that the Bill Hinman speech should be considered guidance, and therefore all of these emails, all the drafts, all the people talking about this speech should be considered deliberative process privileged, meaning they should stay hidden. Ripple doesn't get to see them. Well, Ripple's defense came out and basically obliterated the SEC. And when James K. Filan posted it and said "bam" on his Twitter, you know that he was impressed. And some of the other people some of the other people on Twitter that cover some of this were also extremely impressed. So I'm going to tell you some of the quotes that Ripple actually used in their defense in this letter to oppose the SEC's opposition. Was actually pretty darn cool, and they were spot on. So basically the gist of it is they're trying to explain that the SEC is trying to change their story, and one of which is a quote of how they're actually trying to get the judge to reconsider William Hinman's speech as guidance instead of opinion. Here's what Ripple said. They said the SEC seems to think that the speech should fall within an administrative twilight zone, somewhere between personal opinion and agency policy. Again, spot on. Back in the beginning of this case, a SEC was arguing that it was Bill Hinman's opinion. Now they're trying to argue that it was actually agency guidance, or rather a division of the agency's opinion, which also can be considered guidance, if you follow. Ripple also went on to attack some of the things that the SEC were actually including in their letter, some of which goes against some of the rules and regulations, at least according to some of the legal analysis. And so Ripple said, the SEC, with neither permission nor apology, submits a brand declaration in blatant violation of the local rules from somebody who has no first-hand knowledge of the matters attested to. Basically saying what the SEC is trying to argue and trying to insert other pieces of evidence or other pieces of outside information into a case in a motion is not what you're supposed to do. Ripple saw that, and Ripple called them out on it. Well done. And now specifically talking about their flip-flopping with the Bill Hinman's, whether it's an opinion, whether it's actually guidance, here's what else Ripple had to say. The SEC cannot be permitted to backtrack and avoid the natural consequences of its own litigation strategy. Ripple notes that the SEC is essentially seeking a do-over. In other words, we oopsied, and we really didn't want to consider William Hinman's speech to be an opinion. We wanted it to be considered guidance, but we didn't do that in the beginning. So we're trying to kind of just want to have your decision about his speech being an opinion, reconsider it, because that's actually not where we stand anymore. We'd like you to reconsider. And so Ripple blasted them and called them out as they should. It is past February 28th, which means discovery is officially over, which means we are waiting for a couple of rulings before this could potentially move into trial. That is, if settlement doesn't happen. So at any time, this week or next week, we could be hearing decisions on two things. Number one, whether the judge is actually going to allow the SEC to flip-flop their position and keep those emails about the speech private. And number two, we're going to be hearing about the Elad Roisman and Brad Garlinghouse meeting notes, or what's known as the Easterbrook notes. Again, the SEC wants to keep them private. and Ripple wants to bring them to the forefront. So that is also going to be decided on. And in my next video, I'm actually going to be covering a lot of what Jeremy Hogan and John Deaton have to say about these decisions. Specifically John Deaton, and he is actually going out on a limb as to what some of his predictions and observations are about some of these decisions and what we could be seeing moving forward into the trial phase. So if you do want to follow along with those topics or any of the other topics that I cover on the Late Night Grind community, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and like I said, also click that bell notification icon. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you watching all the way to the end of this video. It really does help out. And of course, smashing that thumbs up button. And if you want to have more discussions with me, you can always leave a comment in the comment section down below, or follow me on Twitter. There's a link in the description below where I link to my Twitter profile, and a lot of the times I actually retweet and talk about some of the same topics that I'm talking about here on YouTube on Twitter before I actually make a video of it. So if you want to continue to engage with me there, go ahead and follow me. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.